The quietest person in the room is either a victim or a predator. There is no middle ground. You've been told that hell is other people, and that the loner is simply a broken soul, a shy intellectual who lacks the courage to join the social game. But the truth is far more savage. The high-intelligence loner hasn't failed to join the game. They have chosen to play a different one entirely. While you are busy trading your sovereignty for the warm, suffocating approval of the group, they are sitting in the shadows, mapping your insecurities, cataloging your triggers, and calculating the exact weight of your soul. You think they are lonely. They are actually under siege by no one, which makes them the only truly sovereign actors in the room. The moment you pity a quiet genius, you have already handed them the knife. And you won't even feel the blade until it's time to bleed. You've spent your life believing that social status is the ultimate shield. You think that because you have friends, a network, and a reputation, you are protected. But in the theater of power, your social ties are not armor. They are a leash. Your high intelligence makes you a threat, but your social integration makes you predictable. You are bound by the fear of what they will think. You are a prisoner of your own popularity. Look around you. You see the quiet genius at the office or in your social circle. You think their isolation is a handicap, but your brain is filtering reality through a biological mechanism designed 10,000 years ago, where being cast out meant death. In 2026, in this hyper-digital, hyper-fragmented reality, isolation is no longer a death sentence. It is a laboratory. While you are exhausting your cognitive bandwidth on maintaining a persona, the loner is operating with 100% efficiency. This is why you fail to see the trap until it closes. You mistake their lack of small talk for a lack of social intelligence. It isn't. It's a refusal to waste ammunition on targets that don't matter. Your instinct is to be good and included. But this instinct backfires when you face someone who has killed the need for belonging. You are playing checkers with someone who is currently rewriting the rules of chess while you aren't looking. You know the feeling of unease when they look at you, that penetrating gaze that feels like a surgical scan. That's because it is. Niccolo Machiavelli was not a villain. He was a realist who understood that the gap between how people should live and how they actually live is where empires are won or lost. He knew that the most dangerous advisor was the one with no family, no friends, and no master. We are going to dissect 9 laws of the unbound intellectual, the high-intelligence loner who has weaponized their isolation. This is not self-help. This is a manual for psychological warfare and self-conquest. Once you see the strings of social dependency, you can never go back to being a puppet of the herd. If you are not ready to kill the part of you that craves the validation of people you don't even respect, leave now. This knowledge is irreversible. For the rest of you, welcome to the laboratory of the unbound. Law 1. The law of zero accountability. The most powerful man is the one with nothing to lose and no one to protect. The human ego is usually anchored by a reputation, a fragile house of cards built on the opinions of others. When you have a high-status reputation, you are vulnerable to blackmail, shaming, and social execution. The loner, however, has already executed their social self. They have no face to save. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must have no other object or thought than war." For the intelligent loner, social survival is not the goal. Strategic dominance is. This is because their lack of ties grants them a lethal mobility. They can burn a bridge because they never intended to cross it again. They can tell the brutal truth because they don't need your invitation to dinner. In practice, this means you can never negotiate with them using social pressure. You cannot shame a man who has integrated his own shadow and accepted his status as an outsider. He is untouchable because he has already survived the worst thing the herd can do: rejection. Law 2. The law of the asymmetric map. Intelligence is the ability to process information. Isolation is the opportunity to collect it without interference. While the herd is busy talking, the loner is busy calibrating. The reason this works at a neurological level is that social interaction consumes massive amounts of prefrontal cortex energy. By opting out, the loner redirects that energy toward pattern recognition. Your brain interprets their silence as shyness, but in reality, they are running a diagnostic on your character. They see the micro-expressions you hide from your friends. They hear the insecurity in your jokes. Machiavelli knew that the fox is a recognizer of traps. Here's how this works in real life. While you are performing for the room, the loner is mapping the room's architecture. Imagine a boardroom meeting. The alpha is shouting and demanding attention. The loner is in the back, taking no notes, but noticing that the alpha's hands shake when the budget is mentioned. 3 months later, the alpha is gone, and no one knows why. The loner knew exactly where the foundation was bleeding. Law 3. The law of strategic misanthropy. The high-intelligence loner does not hate people because they are mean. They hold people in contempt because they are predictable. This misanthropy acts as a powerful psychological filter. It prevents the empathy fatigue that slows down the average person. When you see a colleague struggling, your instinct is to help, a biological urge for tribal cohesion. The unbound intellectual sees the struggle as data. They ask, "Is this person's failure a tool I can use?" Machiavelli advised the prince to be a great pretender and dissembler. The loner uses their high intelligence to simulate empathy when necessary, but they never actually feel it. This creates an emotional immunity. Picture this. A friend betrays you, and you spend weeks in emotional ruin. The loner experiences a similar betrayal, calculates the cost-benefit of revenge versus moving on, and decides within seconds. They are not heartless. They are emotionally optimized. They view you as an NPC, a non-player character in the narrative of their own sovereignty. Law 4. The law of the internal fortress. Most people's sense of self is a reflection in the eyes of others. If people stop looking, you cease to exist. The intelligent loner has built an internal fortress, a self-contained system of validation. This is the ultimate expression of virtù. Their confidence is not derived from your praise, which means it cannot be taken away by your criticism. This makes them untamable. You cannot buy them with flattery. You cannot break them with isolation. The reason this works is that their high intelligence allows them to create a complex internal world that is far more interesting than the banal reality of the herd. In practice, this means they are the only ones who can truly walk away from a bad deal. While you stay in a toxic job or relationship because you fear the void of being alone, the loner welcomes the void. It is their natural habitat. The paradox is that the less they need you, the more power they have over you. Law 5. The law of outcome independence. High intelligence allows one to see the long game, and isolation provides the patience to wait for it. The herd lives in the now, the immediate dopamine hit of a like, a laugh, or a win. The unbound intellectual operates on a different temporal scale. They are willing to look like a loser for a year to become the architect of a decade. Machiavelli observed that fortune is a woman, and she lets herself be won more by the impetuous than by those who proceed coldly. However, the loner is the exception. They are the cold player who waits for fortune to exhaust herself. Because they have no social obligations to maintain, they can disappear for months to master a skill, build a business, or plan a move. They don't need the win today. This makes them dangerous because they are not reactive. If you attack them, they don't hit back immediately. They wait until you've forgotten the conflict, until your guard is down, and then they dismantle you with surgical precision. Law 6. The Law of the Ghost Presence. Silence is the ultimate weapon of the fox. The more you speak, the more you reveal your boundaries, your weaknesses, and your blueprint. The intelligent loner uses the ghost presence. They are physically there, but psychologically absent. They are unreadable. Your brain interprets a lack of information as a threat. This is known as ambiguity aversion. Because you can't categorize the loner, you become obsessed with them. You talk about them. You wonder what they're thinking. By saying nothing, they dominate the narrative of the room. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The loner takes this to the extreme. They allow you to project your own fears and fantasies onto them. Imagine you're trying to impress a quiet, brilliant mentor. You keep talking, trying to fill the silence, and in your desperation, you reveal a secret you never intended to share. The loner didn't manipulate you. They simply provided the silence, and you hung yourself with it. Law 7. The Law of Asymmetric Information. In any power dynamic, the person with the most information wins. The herd is an open book. They broadcast their lives on social media. They vent to coworkers. They bleed their emotions in public. The intelligent loner is a black box. You know nothing about their finances, their relationships, or their plans. They, however, know everything about yours because they have been listening while you were broadcasting. This is the core of Machiavellian strategy. Information is the fuel of virtù. Here is how this works. They know your mortgage is underwater. They know your marriage is failing, and they know you're looking for a new job. You know they like coffee. When the time comes for a promotion or a confrontation, they have a mountain of leverage, and you have a handful of sand. Never trust a loner who knows more about you than you know about them. They are not being private. They are being prepared. Law 8. The Law of the Shadow Mirror. The intelligent loner has spent more time with their shadow, the dark, repressed parts of the psyche, than anyone in the herd. While the group is busy pretending to be good and altruistic, the loner has looked into their own capacity for cruelty and accepted it. This gives them a dark empathy. They can see your shadow because they have mastered their own. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." This makes them immune to your manipulation. You cannot gaslight a person who has already explored the deepest basements of their own mind. In practice, this means they see through your virtue signaling and your fake smiles. When you try to use moral arguments to get what you want, the loner simply smiles. They know the game. They see the predator behind your kind eyes, because they have already integrated the predator in their own. Law 9. The Law of the Necessary Cruelty. Because the loner is not bound by tribal loyalty, they are capable of surgical cruelty. Machiavelli argued that it is better to be feared than loved, and that cruelty should be dealt all at once, so it is forgotten, whereas benefits should be given little by little. The intelligent loner understands this perfectly. They don't engage in petty bickering. If someone becomes an obstacle to their sovereign goals, they don't complain. They remove the obstacle. This might be a cold, professional dismantling of your reputation, or a silent withdrawal of support at a critical moment. They don't do it out of anger. They do it out of efficiency. The paradox of the loner is that their lack of social ties makes them the most rational executioners. They don't have to worry about the fallout at the Saturday night party, because they weren't going anyway. They are the only ones in the room who can afford to be truly ruthless. You're listening to this thinking about how to protect yourself from the loner in your office or your life. You're looking for shields and tactics to keep them at bay. But you're missing the point. The need for protection comes from fear, and fear comes from a lack of sovereignty. You are afraid of the loner because you know deep down that they are more free than you are. They have something you've traded away for a paycheck and a friend group. They have themselves. Carl Jung said, "I would rather be whole than good." The loner is whole because they have integrated their capacity for isolation and darkness. You are good because you are too afraid to be alone. But being harmless is not a virtue. A harmless man is just a rabbit waiting for the hawk. True virtue requires the capacity for danger, tempered by the will to control it. The ultimate reverse psychology is not on the loner, it's on yourself. You must integrate your own loner monster. You must become the kind of person who could walk away from everything tomorrow and be perfectly fine. This requires the death of your current identity. It requires you to stop being a piece on the board and start becoming the architect. Techniques are useless if your soul is fragile. You can only wield these laws of power if you reach a point where you don't need them to feel safe. Imagine a version of you 1 year from now. This version of you doesn't panic when the group turns against you. This version of you doesn't explain your actions to people who have no authority over your soul. Imagine walking into a room and being the quiet genius yourself, not out of shyness, but out of a calculated refusal to reveal your blueprint. People look at you differently. They lean in when you speak because you speak so rarely. They don't try to manipulate you because they can't find your hook. You have become a black box. The old you, desperate for the like, the invite, the approval. The new you, detached, surgical, sovereign. The old you, a lion roaring for attention. The new you, a fox mapping the traps. The price of this transformation is high. You will lose friends. Your family may not recognize the coldness in your eyes. There is a profound loneliness that comes with being the architect of your own reality. This is the tax you pay for greatness. You have a choice: the comfort of the herd or the freedom of the wolf. You cannot have both. If you're still here, you're part of the 0.01%. Most people clicked away the moment we challenged their need to be liked. They chose the herd. They chose to remain prey. Subscribe not to support this channel, but to make a contract with your own evolution. This is not a community. This is a gathering of outliers. We are just getting started. The rabbit hole of Machiavellian strategy goes deeper than you can imagine, and the next level requires you to leave your current self behind. Don't be left outside the fortress of your own mind. Subscribe. Turn on the bell. I'll see you in the shadows. Welcome to the inner circle.